Isolation day 131. It's Tuesday the 28th of July. It's been a week, just over a week since I've posted any videos, and I have been busy. The major reason for not posting videos on a daily basis was that I attended the Mastering Diabetes online retreat. Now, for those of you that have been watching, you probably already know that I was booked in to go to Costa Rica in June to attend a 4-day retreat hosted by Robbie and Cyrus and Kylie and all of the other people that are involved with the Mastering Diabetes team. And unfortunately that got cancelled because of course it got cancelled because of COVID. So what they've done is they've set up an online retreat, and I subscribed to that and I attended. Now, the difficulty with being in the UK was that I was actually the only one from the UK that did attend. And it began at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which was 7 o'clock mountain time, which I hadn't heard of before, but 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and generally ended about 2:30 in the morning every night. So it was very, very long days, and they were packed, absolutely packed with stuff to do. They would begin the morning with a workout by Jose. Their morning workout was my afternoon workout, but actually it worked really, really well, and it was very, very good. It's an important part of the Mastering Diabetes program, is to move your body and to exercise. And after that, we would have breakfast and we would have classes, effectively what would be classes. And Robbie, Cyrus, Kylie, who is Cyrus's wife, there was Adam Sudd, and Adam was type 2, has completely reversed type 2. There was Mark Ramirez, and all of those guys are on the Mastering Diabetes team. And they individually would do these classes, and there were over 100 people watching, and I've got to say they were excellent. You know, from start to finish, all of the classes were informative, and they it was kept at a level whereby you could follow exactly what they were saying and how they were saying, and at all times it followed what was in the book and in their podcast, and they just reinforced everything that you'd read about or you'd heard before, but then they would give you more information, and it worked really, really well. And peppered across the days were guest speakers as well. So I'll give you a few names. So they had Dr. Aisha and Dean Shazai. These are both doctors in the US, and they deal with brain health. And what they were doing was presenting how the food that you eat and your insulin sensitivity is so very important to your brain, the functioning of your brain far into your old age. It was really, really very interesting. Also, Mark Ramirez, who had type 2 and reversed type 2 as part of the Mastering Diabetes team, and he was there with his wife Kim. They presented not only his history, which is incredible, you know, his family history of diabetes. I'm the only one in my family. I don't know many people with diabetes, and I certainly haven't got anyone else in my family, but Mark's family is peppered with people with diabetes, with some really telling and really harrowing stories actually. But the two of them were amazing, and they presented their family outlook on diabetes and their family outlook on food and how they dealt with their children as well. So it was really sort of pertinent for me and how I talk to my children about this stuff. Adam Sudd was, again, incredible. You know, his history struggling with illness, drug addiction, and Adam was probably the most remarkable of the presenters, in so much as what he said really hit home, and he was really, really engaging. Then they had Rick Diener. Now Rick Diener is very well known in the sort of plant-based world, and he was really informative. He's an expert on plant-based nutrition as such. One of the highlights of the weekend was the presentation by Will Bulsiewicz, and Will is I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but Will is the author of Fiber Fueled, and he came and spoke to us about gut health. And what they did was they built the entire program around how how eating plant-based food and low-fat food will help not just your mind, will help your body, your heart, your insulin sensitivity, and your longevity. So it was really, really good. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I think everyone that is looking at a plant-based and is certainly diabetic and looking at plant-based food, I think you should be attending those courses. My takeaways from the weekend, not just the people that were presented, but my takeaways were, and this was really important for me, probably the top was the dawn phenomenon. As you know, if you've been watching me, I had a huge issue with the dawn phenomenon when 5 or 6 years ago, and I was in an awful state. I just could not control my bloods. They were roller coastering at all times. Now, what I've always tried to do is prevent the dawn phenomenon. I eat very early on in the evening. I try not to eat too late because I noticed that affects my blood sugars. But what I learned on this course with the private tuition from Robbie, very kindly, not just for me, but there were a group of 5 or 6 of us, what I learned was that the dawn phenomenon isn't something to be afraid of. It isn't something to panic about. Actually, lots of people just deal with it, in so much as they take their insulin for it. So Robbie settled my mind quite a way on the dawn phenomenon, and not to really let it ruin the rest of my day. Just work out what insulin you need to take to be able to deal with it. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, and really that's a complete mindset change for me. On its own was probably the most valuable nugget of the weekend, because as I say, if I get up and my bloods are high, invariably it really stresses me out. I've never liked it. Now I'm a little bit more, and I have been since, it's only been what, less than a week, and it's happened a couple of times since, and it happened over the weekend. I'm trying not to beat myself up over it, and what I'm actually doing is taking for it and trying to counteract it, and it seems to be working really well. Next takeaway was to eat slower, which is incredible really. But actually, if you're eating 100 to 150 grams of carbs, which I'm now doing, I'm having breakfast of 130, 140, 150 grams of carbs, just unheard of in the keto world. And this is a bowl of fruit this big, and mangoes, apples, bananas, satsumas, grapes, spinach. I'm having quinoa in there. I'm having strawberries. I'm having blueberries. I'm having blackberries, all in a breakfast bowl as such. And what I'm doing is I'm eating half of it and taking my time whilst eating, which is something that I've always struggled with because of work and life and everything else. And then I'm having a break. And then I'm eating a break of about 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And then I'm eating the other half. And I've had very, very little spike. Nothing at all. So I'm really, really pleased with that. And the next takeaway of the weekend, and Robbie was very clear with me, fortunately he'd actually watched one of these videos, and he commented how I just wasn't eating enough. And that's why I've lost a bit of weight, and that's why my calorie intake just wasn't high enough. So I think I was more concerned with eating less fat and keeping the fat content down to try and make me as insulin sensitive as possible, which is all well and good, but you've still got to consume enough calories to be able to function and live and be healthy, and I wasn't. So my undertaking is to consume at least 1750 calories a day and not be worried about the fat content as long as it's less than 15%. So that's what I've been doing, and I started it on the weekend and it worked really well. Next takeaway: consistent movement of the body. Now I know this is all over what they sort of subscribe to, but over the weekend I made sure that every day I exercised, and one of the things that Robbie does is after a meal he'll go for a walk. So my family and I have been doing that. After my evening meal we'll go for a walk, and do you know what? It's working really well. My blood sugars are not spiking. If anything, they're a little bit low at the moment, which I would expect to a certain extent. So I'm trying to work with that. The next thing is, and I've spoken to you guys about this before, intermittent fasting. So there are options of 16-hour fast and then 8 hours of eating, or 24 hours of fast. So yesterday I had a 24-hour fast and it worked out really, really well. It went much better than you've seen before. So that's pretty much it. That's what I took away from the weekend, apart from it was fantastic and I'd sit it again and I'd watch it all over again. Fortunately, they've recorded the videos and they're going to be posting it out, so I'll be able to. But it was a bit of a slog in so much of as hours, 48, 50 hours over 4 days. For me in the UK, finishing at 2:30 in the morning, that was tough, but it was worth every minute. So what I wanted to show you lastly is my Medtronic report for the last week, just to show you where my bloods are, and then we can call it a night. This is the sensor, insulin and settings. You can see only really one episode where it went above 9, which is good. A number of episodes below, but not too bad throughout the night. Look at that. So average blood glucose 5.4, happy with that. Here, so 20 hyperglycemic episodes in that week. That's less than what it was before, okay? And I can explain the number of these, but only 2 hyperglycemic episodes, okay? Really good. Above 9, 2. So let's go a bit further. You can see here Wednesday suspended 8 hours 30, Thursday suspended 6 hours, Saturday suspended 3 hours. I was working in the garden on some of those days. You can see here, here's the average blood glucose readings. You know what? For a week, I'm not unhappy with that. I think that's pretty good. So this is the report that I want to see. So you can see here, this was suspended most of the day. These little skulls are suspended. And that's where the CGM comes into its own. You can see 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 8.9, 8.2, 8.7, 6.2, 8.5 at 7 o'clock. This is what I would call the dawn phenomenon. Is it getting out of control? No. You know what? It's not. It's not horrendous. I can deal with that. And I did. What I would say here is, this is the day, Tuesday, that I fasted. And yeah, you know what? My blood went a bit high at 1 o'clock in the morning. Not great. Took a correction. Took another correction at 4 o'clock. And it came down. But look at that. Didn't have anything to eat for all of those hours. I did take the correction here because I wanted to get back to a level and just see if it stayed there. But look, that's pretty good. You know what? I'm not too worried about this. 3.7 after 4.6, not too worried. That's probably a bit low. Needs a little bit of correction to basal, but overall, I'm pretty happy with that. And I would like to point this out. Wednesday, 288 grams of carbs. Thursday, 263. Friday, granted, 157. But then I stepped it up. Saturday, the undertaking to Robbie was I would increase my calories, therefore I would increase my carbs. 341, 309, 308. And then I did the day of fasting, and this 130 was only right at the end of the day. But look at that. Over 300 grams of carbs every day. And did I go high? No. Actually, I've got a few lows there. Am I happy with that? At the moment, you're bloody right I am. So that's my overview for the week. Yes, these videos are going to be a little bit longer because I'm only going to do them once a week, and I'm going to keep on doing that going forwards to give me a good chance of attending to things over a number of days and then reporting it to you. Next week, what I'll do is I'll show you the detail of exactly what I'm consuming to get to over 300 grams of carbs a day. And I will show you the calorie intake, the fat intake and the food, and I'll take some photos as well and make sure that you are fully informed. At the moment, am I happy? I'm about 80% happy. Am I happy with the Mastering Diabetes weekend? 100% happy. Yeah, over the moon. I really do hope you're all doing well. Okay, I think the weather in the UK is about to change. For those of you that are watching in the UK, I think we're about to get some really warm weather, so I'm hoping to spend a little bit of time outside and not be quite so pasty. But look, Please look after yourselves. I will catch up with you next week. If you've got any comments, leave them below and I'll answer them. If you've got any questions or you want anything that that you've got to ask me, let me know, okay? And I'll try and answer them. Okay, take care.